Me again. So item B is consideration and potential approval of a public hearing meeting rules for Warren County Commissioners meetings. This is simply a rules of decorum. This has been, a version of this has been adopted by virtually every single county in the state of Colorado. It is just rules of decorum and conduct, essentially asking people to act like adults. That's about it. And it talks about amount of time, typically give 3 minutes, up to the discretion of the chair. At that time, the chair would extend that time. And so it just sets, I mean, really rules that we've had in place for, quite frankly, a long time. It's really the hand written down, decided with a lot of recent meetings where things have gotten a lot of control. That's important to have the rules and so that people understand exactly what is to be expected of them. I'm sure there's been some rumblings that it infringes on their first right amendment to free speech. That is absolutely 100% incorrect. Just for the record, the U.S. Supreme Court has stated multiple times, and I quote this, the state, no less than a private owner of property, has power to preserve the property under its control for the use to which it is lawfully dedicated. The U.S. Supreme Court from 1967. Further, the First Amendment does not guarantee access to property simply because it is owned or controlled by the government. That's from a U.S. Supreme Court case in 1981. The only restrictions when it comes to rules of decorum is that they, for the most part, have to be neutral based. So it cannot say, you can say this, but you can't say that. So these rules are neutral based. They do not attempt to control what type of comments people make, or even though, quite frankly, the comments before this board should be limited to business. That's not always the case. But these rules do not infringe upon or limit what type of comments people can make or what they say. It is just about behavior, about talking over other people, about essentially just requesting that they act like adults. And if they cannot act like the adults, a chair can excuse them from the room if they refuse to leave the room. That's disturbing the peace, and quite frankly, we could have them arrested in the room. So that's what this is meant to do.
Questions or comments?
I have a comment. So I've read these a number of times, and there are two sections that I'm a little uncomfortable with. One of them being number 2, or 2.0. It reads, outbursts and interruptions from any persons in the hearing room, including shouting, clapping, booing, laughing, or other reactions to proceedings are prohibited. Some things that we hear in here are funny. They just are, and some are disturbing, and some are outrageous, and some are, they generate different feelings and reactions. And although I'm not a fan of getting beat up here every week, I also think that we ought to be careful on what kind of emotion and response that we are placing upon the citizens that we serve. I certainly wouldn't be opposed to outbursts and interruptions from persons in the hearing room are prohibited. But sometimes victories are won here, and I am not sure that clapping a little bit is not okay. I'm not talking about an extended standing ovation or anything, but that's my number one concern. My second concern is with 3.0, all comments from the public, and this is the part where I have a concern, shall only be made by Archuleta County residents. I'm not sure again that that's appropriate, because we have individuals that have interests in Archuleta County. They may not be voters, they may not live here. But sometimes the best ideas come from the least likely places. And I think we may be shutting that down. I would not be opposed to it reading absent that, all comments from the public who have been recognized by the board and shall only be made to the chair. And then it has the parents, and it goes further. Although this is not violating the First Amendment as it is written, in my opinion, and as I understand it, I think we need to be careful of the slippery slope and some of the lines that we're putting on the public. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
I understand Commissioner Brown's thoughts, but I don't really agree with it. I think it's up to the board and the chair of the board to go to the meeting and govern the meeting as he sees accordingly. And he's, either one of us can be the chair, and we should be able to understand how people's feel and see whether or not it's bad, good, or indifferent. And it should be solely up to our discretion to rule whether it's out of order or in order. And I think that's what 2.0 is about. 3.0, I've lived here all my life. I'm vested in this community. And I understand that, if you're not a county resident, you don't vote here, and you're not truly invested in this community. You merely just live here part-time. I understand the ideas are good. It doesn't shut them out from speaking. They can still come and speak, or they can reach out to us individually. But I don't have a problem with 3.0. I think if you really care about this community and you live here and you reside here, then you should be allowed a voice here. But if you don't live here, you're not truly vested. A lot of people keep their residence in other states simply because of revenue status and taxes aren't high. You gotta have skin in the game. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I see both points of views. I'm usually not devil's advocate. I think maybe 2.0 could be amended to just say outbursts and interruptions won't be tolerated, and then leave it up to the board to decide which ones are not on an individual basis. Is that fair?
Yes, absolutely.
And
It's
then-
like I said, the chair runs the meeting. It's up to his discretion.
And then on 3.0, I see both points here. Archuleta County residents should take precedence, but we also have people who don't reside here full-time who do have a lot of money tied up in our community, and we do get benefit from that as well, so I would be okay with just taking out the residents.
And just to clarify too, the real reason behind two is where it becomes so disruptive
Right.
that county business can't be conducted, or people are taught, are basically trying to prevent someone else from making their comment.
Right.
And it becomes an intimidating setting where people who want to make a comment won't, because they feel intimidated by other people who are booing or hissing or clapping.
Right.
And that's really the point behind it, is allow that everyone here has their own point of view and feel comfortable coming to the stand to make those comments and not feel intimidated
Right.
by a vocal minority.
And I totally understand where it's coming from, and I'll own it. And I haven't done a good job of silencing people when they're out of order with it. So I think I possess the capability, and whoever the board next will. So
And I'm more than happy to take the feedback and we can table it and bring it back, revise it. I mean, and that's fine. I just wanted to present this before the board. I presented it to you individually. And got feedback on, yeah, we think we should do this, because we've had
right.
some pretty contentious meetings where things got a little out of hand. And I just felt, this is something that everyone needs to be aware of, regardless of your point of view. And we can change the language to whatever the board was comfortable with. So,
Well, I think it's only fair to the public, people who come here to comment, that they know what's expected. So I think it's good in the whole. I'm good with, if we want to table and remove those two of their dates, but
it's up to you all.
I'm agreeable with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not.
So do we need a motion?
Yes,
I think we does business and get it done, and I think that's what we should do.
And if somebody wants to attempt to make that motion with those amendments, but either way, it's open for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the county rules and public hearing meetings as presented, amending 2.0 to read outbursts and interruptions from any persons in their hearing room are prohibited, and amending 3.0, all comments from the public who have been recognized by the board and shall only be made to the chair, parentheses, no comment or question shall be directed at staff, at applicant or presenter, or other members of the public in parents.
Okay, there's been a
And
motion. There's been a motion, is there a second? I'll go ahead and second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Motion passes with 3-1. Thanks, everybody. Okay, back to you, Mr. Weaver.
Yes.
Item C.
So